Welcome back to Inside Pages on Metro Television. In case you just joined us, we had a very interesting conversation about our North by-elections, where the two political parties are going to slug it out on Tuesday, and we found out from them their preparations thus far and what makes them confident that they will win the elections. It's now time for us to look at another topic which is extremely important because it's about the future of our kids, about the future of this country. We got the news this week, sometime on Wednesday, that out of some 7,728 persons or candidates who are aspiring to become teachers, failed. In fact, no, sorry, out of 7,228, 7,728 candidates who sat for or resat exams to be licensed so that they can go into the teaching field, 6,451 were not able to pass. In fact, they failed, leaving 1,277 persons who were able to pass. And to think that they failed in basic literacy and numeracy raises a lot of worry and concerns about the quality of teachers that have been churned out over the years. And teacher unions have been meeting to look at the way forward because they are worried too. And some of them are saying that everybody's been lumped up in creating an impression as though every teacher or most of the teachers we have in the system are half-baked or are substandard. But the issue is not as simple as that. And that's why we invited persons who know, have deep knowledge about or deep insights about the issue to share with us what they make of this outcome, where they think we've gone wrong, and what they think we can do better going forward. And so I've been joined in the studio, and because I don't want to get their names wrongly, let me just do this and go to... So we have Professor Samuel Atintono, who is the national president of PRINCOF. PRINCOF is the president of the principal of colleges, teaching colleges, Ghana. And so they are very key to this conversation we're about because they are the ones who are training these teachers. So they want to tell us what has gone wrong. And then also Noble Selom Jire is the deputy programs manager, teacher education journalist. Teacher education has been writing copiously on matters affecting the education sector. But Selom will tell us more about this particular journal. So he knows exactly what he's talking about. That's why we have invited them. So it's about the mass failure in teacher license exams. What went wrong and how do we fix this? So good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages.
Good morning.
Thank you so very much. And also, Selom, good to see you. Good morning as well. Now, first of all, so in the case of Selom, the journal which you write for, I'm talking about the Teacher Education Journal. What is this journal about?
So the Teacher Education Journal is Ghana's first premier teacher news portal, reporting on issues that have to do with teacher education across the colleges and the universities in Ghana, and also shedding more light on the achievements that are currently ongoing with teacher education across the country. So we started as the Colleges of Education Weekly Journal, and then now transitioned as the Teacher Education Journal.
Right.
So most people may have heard of the Colleges of Education Weekly Journal, where we report on issues affecting the colleges and then teacher education as a whole.
Okay. So it means that this is an issue you've been following for a very long time.
Yes.
And so there's nothing surprising about the outcome. I see. Prof, let me also come back to you now. Prof, you are the national president for the Conference of Principals of Colleges of Education. What's this? Tell us about your group.
Okay. First of all, let me thank you for this opportunity to be here today, this morning, to clarify some issues.
Okay.
And let me also extend good morning to all the 46 principals of the colleges of education scattered across the entire country.
Right.
And then, of course, I'm the principal of Accra College of Education, so I first must also appreciate and extend good morning to my college.
It's very important.
Conference of Principals of Colleges of Education is, if you like, an association of all the principals who train teachers for the basic level.
Okay.
That's from KG to junior high. So this,
basic used to be from KG to GHS, and now per the new policies now to LSS.
Yeah, I think there's not yet
a
kind of formal decision. So let's stay that.
Oh, we're staying with the GHS.
Yeah, GHS for now. That's where we train our teachers for. So each of these 46 principals are responsible in their colleges for delivering the curriculum and for also doing the administrative thing to ensure that the teachers we train follow what exactly the curriculum for training them is.
Okay.
And then also ensuring that we work hand in hand with various stakeholders, Ministry of Education. By virtue of the fact that we are tertiary education now, our regulator is the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC. And then, of course, NTC, after we have finished graduating the students, they are the ones to take them through the process of the licensure. So they are also a critical stakeholder. Of course, you also have a GET fund. They support us in terms of infrastructure and other things. There is another stakeholder, that's TTEL. They really invested a lot and supported teacher education over the years, almost 6 years. They put in a lot of effort in terms of capacity building for leadership and for our staff. We will delve into that. But basically, this is what the colleges of education are. Yeah.
That's interesting. So when you heard the news, and I believe you broke on Wednesday, that out of 7,728 candidates who wrote the Ghana teacher licensure exams, only 1,277 passed. 6,451 failed the exams. Of course, it's an examination receipt. I've heard some people say it's not a big deal because, in fact, these are persons who have been writing in some cases once. The person's rewritten it once, in some cases twice, thrice, 5, in some cases 9 times. So these were people who were struggling to pass anyway. So if they failed, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody who thinks that this is not really as big a deal as some persons have made it to look like?
First of all, let me thank you. When the news broke up, I listened to it, and it was a NTC register who's a very good friend. I hope he's going to join this discussion.
Yeah, Dr. Christian Adaipoku.
Exactly. So for us, as we said, it's not anything to be so much worried because the information was put out there as if the teachers that we train, who are in the classrooms, are very bad to this extent that we're allowing them to teach. But I said, for me, or for us as principals, we are very happy that we are now doing what we say, there's a checkpoint to see if the teachers that we can recruit in the Ghana Education Service to teach in the classrooms.
Okay.
And it is a professional exams, just as we have in law. We've been in this country where some lawyers, you remember the outcry in a few years ago, who didn't pass. We also know that ICA Ghana, that's the Institute of Chartered Accountants, people have been writing a number of times to pass. So, but also bear in mind, these particular candidates who went into the exams and they didn't pass, the register made it quite clear that this is an accumulated kind of students who have been struggling since some of them 2018, 2019, 2020, all the way up to where we are. There's also, it constitutes a mixed basket in the sense that you have done some from the colleges of education. You can see the segregation in the data that they showed.
Right.
From the universities, some regular, some distance. So we do know that in any examination, naturally we expect that they should pass if they have passed through the colleges or passed through whatever instruction in the university or any other teacher training institution. But let us bear in mind that in any exams and in any professional arrangement like what we have in the licensure exams, the essence of it to be sure people acquire the basic skills that they can get to be given the license to teach. So therefore, we do not also naturally expect everybody to pass. You can do all the professional training in a college or in a university or whatever, but that's a professional one. It means you have to reflect there are other things essential that you should read. and get to know as a professional teacher.
What it means is that, in principle, you agree with the policy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the bottom line why licensure exams will come. So question then is, these are already students who are struggling. In any setup, whenever you have students in classroom, you don't expect all of them to be doing the same. But it constitutes a very minute part because currently and over the years, each year, the 46 colleges put together, we have students about 70,000.
Okay.
From level 100 to 400 or 300 by then. So if in a particular year we are going to turn out about 20,000 or 30,000 to participate in the exams, what we do know, and NTC will be coming. Quite recently, there was a forum where they presented research conducted by the university, I think UEW, were all there. They showed the picture quite clearly. Almost 70 to 80% or even 90% in some colleges, the students pass. But this category of students we're talking, some of them have now left the classroom. They have been home for a very long time. You cannot guarantee whether they are still in touch or interacting with their learning. For all you know, when they go and register, they get back home, they don't have the opportunity to revise whatever they have to do. So for me, it's not actually any big deal. What we know is that from 2018, when they started the licensure exams, it is good because any teacher who gets to be recruited by the Ghana Education Service must necessarily pass this licensure. Then we are sure that the training we have provided at the college, we're also sure that they have gone to demonstrate professional knowledge by passing this licensure before they are posted. So we should not actually make it.
But if you train somebody at the tertiary or say colleges of education, as far as you're concerned, you're giving the person the best of tuition. The person goes to write a professional course to be certified as a teacher, and then fails abysmally, literacy and numeracy. I don't know whether they are also tested on pedagogical skills. I don't know whether that's also contained in the exams. I haven't written it before. But for now, we're talking about numeracy and literacy. Isn't that an indictment on the quality of tuition that's given them?
I wouldn't say
because basically they can't write. They can't comprehend. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
No,
they can't comprehend. So does that raise questions about, so what are you teaching them?
No.
Is that a fair question to ask?
I think that we should be very fair here.
Okay.
I agree. These are basic literacy, numeracy, and essential skills. They're just very fundamental things.
Right.
I hope you've seen what we have here, National Teacher Standards for Ghana.
Okay.
This is basically a document that spells out if you want to be a teacher, professional teacher, you ought to acquire what we call professional knowledge in values and attitude to understand what it means to be a teacher. You also need to have professional knowledge in what we call whatever subject you are teaching. So you are teaching mathematics, English you should do. At the same time, we also expect you to know professional practice, your assessment regime, community, and so on. Now, for us in the colleges, we give them the best. As I said, we run a completely a new curriculum. Remember the colleges were doing teacher set A, set B, 3-year post-sec. By 2012, in fact, it started in 2018 under President Kufuor's regime when the colleges were converted to diploma awarding. What it meant is that we have to change our way of doing things. But by 2012, there's actually an act that converted them now to full tertiary, Act 847. And 2018, we now moved to actually full-fledged degree program. Yep. So currently in the 46, we're doing a 4-year Bachelor of Education degree. At each point, we upscale the content and the pedagogical training, including even the practice how you should train a teacher. For example, it is not only coming to write this exam that makes them a teacher, as you know, they ought to also know or have a practical skill about how teaching is done in the classroom. The current practice.
That's what you mean by essential skills.
Yeah. You know, essential and plus, that's a practical knowledge because it's just like you are training a medical doctor. You do not need to just sit down and know how everything about medical without going to
put it into practice.
theater. So for us, you must necessarily go to the classroom. Over the years, what used to be the case when they were doing diploma was that you would come to college year 1, year 2, you are being taught all the subject knowledge and the pedagogical knowledge, and it was very general. But then the last year, you spend it in the field. That's in a classroom, whether GHS or primary. Today, what do we do? With a new curriculum, when we admit a student for first year, the first thing we do is that you start to visit classrooms, what we call supported teaching in schools. So semester 1, you have 6 weeks. Semester 2, another 6 weeks. So that ends your year 1. By the time you get to second year, you continue to do 6 weeks, 8 weeks. We only send you to the classroom when you're in a level 400 first semester. That tells you that we put an emphasis, a very heavy burden on the practical, because at the end you are going to teach. So if we teach you all the skills and the theories and you don't practice, that doesn't help you. So this model makes the teacher to be well kind of equipped or trained. Right. And the first batch came out in just last year, September. We started graduating them this year. That's the B.Ed cohort. But let me come back to the issue now. With the licensure exams, and I'm happy NTC itself is beginning to look at how these exams should be done. Because the teachers that we train, we have people specializing in early grade. That means you must be properly prepared to know how to teach KG up to P3. That's what we mean by early grade. We are also preparing people who should be able to teach at what we call the upper primary. That means P4, P5, P6. And then we have others that we train who specialize for the GHS option. Now, the current protocol or the way of the licensure exams is beginning to have problems. You have general licensure, literacy, and so on. But we are training you to teach at the early grade. Where does this test actually assess your skills? That tells somebody that you are prepared to teach at the early grade, and therefore we are assessing to be sure you have those knowledge. That is one of the problems NTC itself is seeking to address now. And I think that should help all of us, rather than this general essential and people are crying, you cannot write.
I agree with you that the conversation has to be put in its proper context.
Yeah.
Because the impression is being created as if these candidates we are talking about are only products of teacher training colleges.
Exactly.
They are products of UCC.
Yeah.
They are products of UAW.
Exactly.
I'm sure some other institutions.
People, I think.
Okay. Of course, it's just that notable amongst all the other institutions are the three.
Exactly.
Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
From what I gather from what you're saying, and I'm going to come to you, Salom, but from what I gather from what you're saying, when it comes to the teacher training colleges, majority of your students pass.
Yeah, that's what happened. Right. The data is there.
Exactly, the data shows that majority of your people pass.
Yeah.
And as you rightly say, it's not possible for everybody to pass.
No.
There's no 100% in anything. So we have to disaggregate it and know where the problem is coming from, so we can focus and fix it from there.
Exactly.
So I totally agree with you.
All right.
And that's why that's why I noticed that when I said, the mass failure rate is an indictment on the quality of tuition. Hold on a minute. Maybe talk to some other people, not us. So I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
But Salom, let me ask you this.
Yes.
You have been writing for a very long time on this matter. When you heard the news, did you say, well, the chickens have come home to roost because you foresaw something like this happening? And did you ever did you ever put out any article to sort of draw the attention of the authorities that be or the powers that be that let's watch this because it may create a problem one day?
Thank you very much, Moro, for the opportunity, and good morning to the listeners. I think just to start from the part of the indictment, whether this caused an indictment on the quality of teaching in colleges, I think that the data is clear. Ever since they started writing the licensure exams, trainees from the colleges of education have scored over 70% pass on the exams. However, the reason why the figures as it is now in terms of failure of the exams is not surprising is because these are people who have had a turn with the exams before. And just from a basic teacher's perspective, if you put students who are not too bright in a classroom and then you set an assessment exam for them of the same difficulty level over and over again, it's very likely that you're going to still record that same level of failure from the students, except a special intervention is put in place to actually improve the understanding of the students. So the figures as they currently are is not surprising. More so that if you look at the data, there are people who have had second, third, fourth, fifth turns with their exams. And so the figures as they are is not surprising. However, last year in March, the Teacher Education Journal organized the initial teacher education discussion for all stakeholders. Now, that event was chaired by Mrs. Elizabeth Ohini. He was a former minister of State in charge of education. Or tertiary education, who was the chairman. We also had other key high-ranking education officials in that discussion. We had the Minister of Education, Grace in the occasion, Professor Jofusana Mensah, all 46 principals of colleges. And when those discussions were had, some of these observations were made. Some of the resolutions and observations from these discussions, we had teachers from the colleges, key stakeholders from the universities, from the mentoring universities, all coming together to have these discussions. And some of these observations were actually made. I shared a document. We just want us to look at some two observations that we have. I don't know if the producer can bring that up.
Right. So if the producer, if you're with us, please. I'm told that there were some documents that have been shared with you. If you can, it's not ready. Okay. So if they're ready, we'll put it up.
Right.
We'll put it out. That's fine.
Right.
So you want to read?
Yes. I just want to read the first. So these observations were made by the participants within this particular event that happened.
At the forum.
At the forum. Okay. So one, it says the quality of students entering the colleges to be trained as professional teachers should be reassessed. Now, in the past, what used to happen was that teachers who were, or let's say WASI graduates who were willing to get into the colleges to be trained, had some extra form of screening in order for them to get into the college, some form of examination and interviews used to be there. But now that is no longer there.
This was before the licensure exams was introduced.
Yes, this was before the licensure exams were introduced. And this, as I'm reading, is from the stakeholders who were in the colleges. So right before even we having this story of mass failure happening in terms of free seats, the stakeholders all coming together had identified this as a common challenge. Now, the second observation was that there is a need for some form of entrance assessment into the training institutions. Now, the third one, which is a very interesting one, is that concerns were raised about the admission processes in the colleges. So, yes, we need to look at teachers right from the point where they are getting into training,
right, and
then we look at the training itself in the colleges. Now, some of the resolutions that were passed were that modalities for the admission of training teachers into the college should be looked at, and then also currently, for example, we need to also look at the assessments in the various colleges. Now, moving from when all the 46 colleges were affiliated to the University of Cape Coast, we have moved from that affiliation process to now these colleges being affiliated to 5 mentoring universities: University of Cape Coast, University of Ghana, UDS, are part of the universities that are affiliated. Now, what do you observe currently in the assessment process that we are saying that these are things that we should start looking at now? Otherwise, a news like this is going to happen in a very worse form in the future, because some projections like this we saw from the initial dialogue, stakeholders came together, they had mentioned this. Now, the most pressing one, which has to do with assessment currently as it is that in some colleges, so in the college, there are 2 major ways of assessment. We have the CA, which is given by the tutors in the colleges based on assessment. Continuous assessment, CA.
CA, which is continuous assessment.
Yes. So that is like 40% of their total performance that is presented from the colleges. That was in the case of when colleges were affiliated to UCC. And then from their final exams, 60% is awarded, and then that is combined to give them 100%.
I see.
So that is within the assessment that is happening in the college. But now with the affiliation, there is a bit of disparity, where in some colleges, colleges were giving up to 60%. That's from the continuous assessment, and then only 40% coming from the universities. The percentages differ across the affiliate universities. So if we don't look at how the assessment processes are happening and how these modalities are agreed, then it's going to be a challenge in the future. Because then if, in the universities, we can even draw from the universities and the colleges. I wouldn't say it's quite easy, but it's very easy to have students scoring more. So you see from the current graduation that is currently happening across colleges, some colleges are recording very high first classes because the majority of the assessment then is coming from within the school community. Of course, that I'm not saying it's
because they
compromise.
want to look good.
Oh yes, of course they want to look good. Yes,
and to attract more students to come to them.
To them too. Yes.
Yeah.
So then
So soften their stance and make them pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a need for stakeholders to actually agree. Now, UCC has been the main affiliate to colleges of education. And of course, you speak with people and people are really very interested in going to colleges that are affiliated with UCC. So I think there's a need for the universities, the mentoring universities, and then the colleges of education to come together and agree a common assessment ground for some of this. Otherwise, we are going to expect something worse at the end of the day. That does not mean that the quality of teachers in the colleges or the quality of teaching in the colleges is reducing in any way. But those are concerns that we really need to look at in terms of the assessment areas. Then also, Prof mentioned a very important part of the new B.Ed curriculum that has been introduced, that's the supported teaching in schools, where trainee teachers, right from entering the colleges, are getting the experience of the classroom and getting to like experiment what they are learning in the classroom with the teachers, with some guidance from the teachers as well. I think that's one excellent part of the B.Ed curriculum, but it is faced with challenges. Now, we have been reporting across our journal time and time about infrastructure deficits in colleges. It's growing and it's so dire that even as we speak, in most of the colleges, we only have 2 levels who are currently in school now, level 200s and level 400s. Now, you look at it, they go to the campuses and they spend close to a month or 2 for getting direct contact. Now, if you are seeing that the data for the colleges of education is better and they are passing, and it is because they are having a lot of contact hours. Now, if you are taking that away, what then do we expect in the exams? How is that affecting the quality of teachers we are training? And we are very interested in quality education. Quality education really depends so much on the quality of teachers we are training. So if anything hinders the training that they have, or is kind of like threatening the quality of the teaching that they are receiving as trainee teachers, then it's going to by all means translate in the quality of education we have in the classrooms. And for us, our excitement about the NTC exams and having to make sure that they are checking teachers to make sure that they are ready for the classroom is that we need to make sure that the teachers we have interacting with the students are of the best quality. Right. Of course, on a national scale, we have teacher shortage issues, but then we need to make sure that whilst we are supplying the numbers, we are supplying that level of quality in order for us to be able to make the strides that we want in the classroom. Across Africa, because Ghana is in Africa, of course, the major challenge we are faced with is foundational literacy and numeracy. So it is very important that we make sure that at least the teachers that are going there don't have a problem of literacy and numeracy. Because if they have that problem, then how then are we going to support the learners to even increase the figures in terms of foundational literacy and numeracy? So yes, those are the issues. So on the issue of infrastructure deficits, colleges have been mentioning it.
I'm told the document is ready. So please, so what's this?
Yes, right. So this
Section
is
5, admission processes of students in colleges of education.
Yes. So this is a section of the resolutions that were passed at that forum, at the Initial Teacher Education Forum, where all stakeholders in education, principals, mentoring universities, and then the key experts in education had come together to make these discoveries of what is happening in the colleges and the need for us to pay attention to them. Right. So
no need really, because you read it already.
Yes.
This is just to let the viewers know that actually there's a document like that exists.
Yes.
So they can just take a look. I want to go to Prof quickly because we have just 7 minutes to wrap up this conversation.
Yeah,
Prof.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that when it comes to College of Education, the thing about it is that I've also heard some people say that we also have to start looking at the quality of materials that are coming from the JSS. So basically, it appears to be a challenge with basic education. We don't want to add senior high because instead of formally senior high is not part of basic education.
Okay.
But do you feel that we also, because it's garbage in, garbage out, do you think we need to look at perhaps the assessment framework for those, because you admit people from the senior high schools. Now, if people have a challenge with basic literacy and numeracy problems, can we attribute it to, the kind of the quality of tuition that is given to them at the basic and then also the senior high level, rather than blaming the tertiary institutions for not doing a good job? Because look, Prof, you can't learn how to speak English
Well, yeah.
the tertiary education. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. You get a point I'm making.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Just like the universities, the colleges pick their students from
Senior high level.
the senior high level.
Right.
What it then meant for principals, and I have to say this, every year, even though this resolution is showing here, I mean, it used to be the case that you have to conduct entrance exams and then interviews before. Then we got to a point, you remember even the universities when they started with the SHS?
Yes.
They were doing entrance exams, and at the point, we have to
stop it.
Then what is left is we will have to do a proper screening of the results that we pick. And that, of course, can be challenging and problematic, but we trust that if the minimum qualification is C6 or there are D, in terms of SCS, ECE, or WASI, we believe that if you have passed mathematics or English, and in fact, if you don't have the credit, you cannot come to college, just as the universities. You must trust that WAEC and the secondary schools did their best. So these students coming to college should have a fair grasp or basic, grasp of all these things. It shouldn't be a problem in the college. But it's true, over the years, we admit and we'll find out that some students, for some reason, even have very good grades in English and mathematics, and yet they are still struggling. Because when you come to college, we let everybody in year one actually take courses in mathematics, science, and English. So we know that it's our responsibility to still even bridge them up, irrespective of whatever grades they have. It's not as if we are not aware we are, but that's why we are training. So yes, there's a problem from the SHS, but once they come to college, it's now our responsibility to make sure we train them and make sure they acquire whatever we want them to get. But that's not quite easy. I think he highlighted on some of the challenges that we even have at the colleges. When they started this tertiary education for the colleges, first of all was the teacher factor. Our tutors or lecturers had to, first of all, be retrained. But where we are, I'm happy to say about 80 to 90% of them have gotten MPhil, which is the minimum qualification to teach in the college now. And therefore, we up their own skills and then to help these teachers. On the issue of the assessment, I think he mentioned some, but I would want to probably just clarify some issue. There are 5 universities that all the 46 colleges are affiliated to. University of Ghana, where Accra College is plus other 5 are with them. UCC, who are doing for all of us, are now having 16 of the colleges. If you go to KNUST, it's surprising you to ask whether KNUST is doing education. They do. So we have some colleges with them. We also have UDS, have some colleges affiliated to them. The University of Education also have a number of them affiliated to them. What exactly happened was, the first batch of the B8 were all taken by UCC. So their assessment protocol was the 40 sister that he mentioned. But the rest of the other university, UW, Eugene, KNUST, and UDS, they are running the same curriculum. And there's actually a national assessment framework which guides all the assessment in the colleges that are affiliated to this. So that is where the assessment framework taught that in a profession, you are not only looking at, if it were academic, just looking for those mental things, but there are practical things you are looking for. So basically what we do with that assessment, national assessment framework is that, yes, the weighting is 60 for continuous assessment, or whatever you may call it, formative. And then the summative is the end of the exams that they do semester or at the end of the whole program. So the summative one is what constitutes 40% now. So there's a lost side. But it is not the case that because the tutors can easily give marks, yes, they are human beings, and if the instrument, remember assessment is a very complex thing. What we are talking about here today is we should also be asking the difficulty nature of the items. Does these items also reflect a wide range of skills?
Okay.
These skills are very simple. Some has categorized them just as knowledge, which is recall. What is the name of the TV station we are? Metro. Very easy. The first president of Ghana.
Okay.
Very easy. You don't have to do anything. But when you then ask the question, what exactly were the achievements of the first president? You are driving into another one. So the questions, by their nature, have to reflect certain skills. That's from recall to comprehension and then all analysis. So that's what you need to do. So the assessment framework that I'm talking about, even though it's lopsided, the scores that they bring are moderated at the college level and also by the affiliate universities. So by the time we actually say your continuous assessment out of the 60 is 40 or 50, we must be sure it has passed through a certain process. They cannot just be giving marks.
Okay.
But I think, as I said, there are few students who still have problems. And for me, this data, when you do assessment, also informs us to see how we can reorganize and prepare to help the students. So it's a good.
I think you've nailed it.
Just to add my last words. Okay. Yeah.
Just 1 minute to go.
Right. So just at the entrance point, as he rightly said, people have the results, they come in and realize that their case is different. I think just like it's done in other pricing professions, medical students, despite scoring all the 8As, they still write entrance exams.
Right.
So some of these quality assurance measures should be put in place.
So that the sifting is done right from the beginning.
Yes.
You don't wait till they finish
Yes.
their training.
Yes, and then on the issue of the assessment, our call as TJ is that there should be some harmonized kind of assessment that is happening. So whether it's 60-40, it should be almost the same thing across.
But that's what we are doing. That's what I said in the other 4 days, and that's what we are doing. It's just that Cape Coast alone have a different, but they're having the same thing.
It must all be harmonized.
Yeah, that's what we have done.
North and South.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Prof, thank you so. No, Prof, thank you so very much for accepting to join us. Professor Samuel Atintono is the National President, Conference of Principal of Colleges of Education, Noble Salom Jire, Deputy Programs Manager, Teacher Education Journal. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning. It's been very enlightening,
We are most grateful.
and it's been an eye opener. My name is Aldo Moro. Thanks for watching another edition of Inside Pages. Same time next week, Saturday, 8 a.m. sharp. We'll be here. Have a great weekend.